So my question was about passion and the ego. So how are those two ideas related?
If passion is out of our woundings, heading towards wholeness in our beliefs, then the ego comes in and try to hide our wounds.
But isn't the ego like a programming? So, our programming is our wounds, isn't it? So the ego, I mean, it's the, yeah. So yeah, so the ego, like, it's the, I mean, before we're talking about like the ego and the wounds.
Okay, so.
And then the passion is a way to, a way of, in a way, like a way of looking for healing, for wholeness. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what you said about ego though in the wood elements. I'm trying to remember. I'm like, what did you... Yeah.
If I could only remember what you said.
I don't remember. But it was important though.
Yeah, it was.
It was really important. It was important, and it's like there, but...
Yeah, I tend not to use the word ego.
Yeah.
So I remember we had that discussion, I brought it up, and you said you didn't like to talk about in terms of the ego because then it's stealing in duality.
Somewhat of our self-concept.
But wouldn't the ego, if we were talking about the ego, wouldn't it be resisting passion? Because passion would be leading us towards wholeness.
But
And the ego would resist that.
You've almost got it, Lana.
Something about our ego and wounding, though.
The ego, when people classically speak of the ego, they talk about what's put in place to help us survive in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Huh? So we're told that we need to learn to have a strong ego, right? So that we can survive in the world. Now, just the concept of having to survive is based in fear. Okay? And so, the ego, as we've learned it, is a fear-based activity. Okay? So, it's what has us charging out into the world to prove that whatever we learned about ourselves is not really true. Right? It's the compensation for, right? What we actually learned about ourselves. So,
what we actually
learn about
is
ourselves.
not true?
No.
No. No, she said. Right.
Yeah.
We learned that
But the ego is not
the ego is that vital force, that energy that comes up inside us, that pushes us out into the world to achieve and survive and to prove that it's not true that I will never be loved. It's not true that I'm no good. It's not true that I need to be ashamed. It's right? And so a strong ego, right, the way we understand it culturally or in terms of pop psychology or whatever, right, a strong ego is a strong sense of self. Except that
that's not who you really are.
neither that nor the learning is who we really are. Neither of those things is who we are. Right? So, given what I just said, how are ego and passion related?
I think I'm a little confused.
Yes,
there.
yeah.
Okay. Because you said the ego is about our survival, to keep us safe.
No. No. Not safe necessarily in terms of the programming is to keep us safe. Okay? The ego is to give us a sense of self-worth.
Isn't the ego a reflection of the wounding?
Yes, it's we learn, for example, that that if anyone ever gets really close to us and really sees us, that they won't love us because we're not lovable. Mm-hmm. That's one of the basic things that all of us learn. No? That we're not worthy of love because we were not accepted as we were when we were born, right? Our parents believed that they had to mold us into suitable forms to be acceptable to society. You know? And so, as we were rejected.
We were not, we were not
Right?
good enough.
We were not good enough. And so the learning then is that we're not worthy of love. Who we really are is not worthy of love. And so the ego is what pushes us. It's that feeling of not being good enough that pushes us then into the world to prove that that's not true. Huh? Or to create barriers around ourselves so that nobody gets close enough to see who we really are. So either way, it's, in a sense, it is protection. It's protection so that nobody sees what we really believe about ourselves, what we really learned about ourselves. So many of the leaders of the world, the people who outperform everyone else and who are standing up there with the biggest voices, making the biggest noise, are doing so because they have the biggest holes inside them. Huh? When you say someone has a big ego, there's really no such thing as a big ego, right? It's really the bigger someone seems,
The bigger the wound.
the bigger the wound, exactly. Exactly. And so, where does passion fit in here?
Well, our passions are our wounds.
The passion is a strategy to heal the wound.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The puta.
Dog spelled backwards is God, and God is facing you.
No, it was his Tico swearing that I
I wonder if that's recorded.
for
We
posterity.
gotta cut that out.
Okay. Ego has an element of consciousness attached to it. Passion does not. Passion typically is something that takes us over and that we believe is totally irrational. It's that fire that consumes us and we can't do a thing about it. It's something that we can control. It's something that we can choose to try to suppress, or that we can observe as a way of understanding ourselves. But it's this impulse that has nothing to do with rationality. That's why it's placed on the opposite pole to rationality, right? Passion and reason.
And in Pierre Trudeau's entrance foyer, there's a big rug, and written on it is "Reason over Passion."
Oh boy. Reason over passion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the stiff upper lip.
Yeah.
Right? And literally, the stiff upper lip. Right?
Yeah.
That's.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
All these metaphors really, once you get to the root of them, are they really say a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yes, reason over passion is really often how civilization is defined.
Yeah.
Passion is considered to have something to do with the body.
And disordered.
And chaos.
Yeah.
And disorder and what cannot be controlled.
Yeah. That's
Mm-hmm.
And not abiding by the rules.
Exactly. Exactly. Civilization, on the other hand, because we're talking about duality here, civilization, and this would be the right hand, of course, is about predictability, keeping everybody safe, right? Defeating mortality and chaos, having everything nice and ordered. I often use the difference between ballet and African dance. Huh? As a way of giving a visual description. Ballet is considered the height of civilization, right? Ballerinas with long necks, head totally separated from the body, and one's ability is judged by how little you touch the earth.
Yeah, exactly. Their feet not even on the
How
ground.
high you can jump.
How much control you have.
How much control you have over your body, which otherwise would be connected to the earth. Yes, exactly. How much of an illusion you can have of not being part of this earth. Right?
quite heavenly, ethereal.
Exactly. The definition of elegance is really something that has nothing to do with the earth.
Mm-hmm.
So, civilized and primitive. African dance, right? The beat of the drum, the heartbeat, what's visceral and connected to the earth. And we believe that this is a duality, an either-or kind of situation. This is the problem with duality. It's not that either of these extremes is not necessarily true or valid. It's just that we're missing everything in between. You know?
So
Yeah.
it's still not clear in the passion. Let's say somebody has a good job and all that stuff, the whole thing, and then suddenly has this passion, discovers bowling. You know, starts, getting really,
Lawn bowling.
go all the way for bowling and leaves everything,
Right.
But then where does the ego come in there? And whatever underlying things and their programming and their wounds and the whole thing, for the bowling and all that stuff, okay, aside, where does the ego?
The ego is the need to succeed and the need to be seen as. In this case, the ego could either be used to say, oh no, I can't do bowling because I've got a good job and my status in society requires me to not follow that passion, right? Or you leave the job and you become the absolute best bowler you could ever be.
Wow.
Right?
Interesting.
Well, there's a lot of talk all nowadays about passion and what's your passion and
Yep.
so within that, I guess, kind of what you're saying is that everything in the middle is kind of left out. Like,
Well, when people, a big part of this talk about passion is that we're much less willing now to earn our livings doing things that are going to kill us, right? In whatever way, physically, spiritually, emotionally. Much less willing to do that. And so, the fact is that when your work, what you're earning money for, is what you're passionate about, it doesn't feel like work, right? And so this is the idea in following your passion and earning your living, just that idea, we have to earn our living. We don't deserve it, we have to earn it. Right? We have to earn our living. We have to work really hard to deserve to live. Wow,
Work is a 4-letter word,
that's right.
and it's a big one, really.
so I guess my question is this a healthy progressive step in our evolution as humanity, that we are, people are working and doing things that they,
Well, what do you think?
well, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Just clear that up.
Well-
so should we not be passionate about things, or is that?
You're asking me?
Well, no, because yeah, I am asking.
Of course. As Ramiro told us, passion is the healing of woundedness. On the other hand, there's a balance to passion.
Yeah.
Our passions teach us about ourselves. And as I was saying before, when we're talking about chemistry with another human being, right? That passion, all those physical sensations that come burbling up, do not necessarily have to be acted on. When we recognize that physical attraction to someone else is an indication that that person is very, very, very much like your mommy or your daddy.
Marry your mom, marry your daddy.
Exactly. There's no other option.
Yep,
Right?
gotta work it out.
That's right. Exactly. So when we realize that, when we've got this balance between rationality and passion, reason and passion, right? It's not either or. We can use both. Huh? We can live both. Then we all of our passion teaches us about ourselves.
And that's healing our souls and our bodies.
Exactly.
Because our soul and our body have
Are calling out. Yeah. Not only when we sublimate reason to passion, and when we allow ourselves to be totally guided by passion, we're simply repeating everything that we learned. We're simply repeating the program. But, on the other hand, because I don't believe in the whole good and bad thing, okay? So, if you live out your passion, you'll end up suffering perfectly. Right? You'll end up, at some point, really living the suffering that duality has brought you face to face with. Right? And that's not a bad thing. It also can bring awareness. So I'm not saying don't live your passion. I'm saying observe it. At the same time as, you live it if you want. But you at least have a choice.
So then we'll go dancing tonight.
Is that where the witness self?
Yeah, the observer, the witness, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In all aspects, we should be having a look at what it is we're doing and thinking at times.
When we can observe with no judgment,
Okay.
that's the trick. So it's not so much thinking about it. Huh? It's simply, as you said, witnessing it. And that's really the thing, the challenge for most of us.
Will I ever get there?
Of course.
That's hard. I mean,
Of course it's hard. Yeah. We, right now, and the reason it feels so heavy and so hard is because we are the creation of generations and generations and generations of judgment. Generations of absolute belief in duality.
And how everything is wrong in some way.
And so, when we choose to attempt to go against that, it feels as if we've got the entire weight of all of the generations before us. That we're turning around, that we're moving. That's why it feels so heavy.
That is why it is so important to honor. For me, it makes such difference.
Yes.
Instead of judging, instead of making myself wrong, instead of battling, it's just honor. It's even I honor. It's bigger than I. It's bigger than it. It taught me so much. Honoring.
Yeah. When we see our inheritance as something, because we feel it as heavy, huh? We feel it as an elephant that we have to move. Right. when we can receive unconditionally and really understand that we're here for that elephant. You know, that's why we came here. You know, that it gives us the dignity. It gives us the dignity of the words that come to me are the rainbow warrior, the light warrior. It's like, yes, it's heavy. Yes, it hurts. And this is why we're here. And we're here now because we can do it. We're aware of it because we can do it. But not only is it important to honor our ancestors, but also to honor ourselves in this work. You know? It's we're all of us warriors with the symbolic sword of truth and love. And that sword is no longer for cleaving. It's no longer for destroying. It's for blessing. It's for anointing. And so, the work that we do in freeing our hearts, in opening up the feminine aspect of ourselves, in moving out of survival and into life, frees our bodies. Frees our ancestors and brings us into this place of oneness. And we're able to do it because of all of our ancestors, because of everything that they've lived, because generation after generation after generation, the suffering has become more and more and more acute. Until in our hearts and in our bodies we can't continue this way anymore. And this is perhaps the most eloquent description of how passion and suffering are the same thing. We can no longer continue separate and be well. As a planet, we can no longer maintain the illusion of separation and thrive. So Ramiro, what are the foods that stimulate The heart.
Heart.
Remember the taste for the heart, for the fire element?
Is it sour?
That's wood. Bitter.
Bitter. Yep.
Yeah. So foods that are bitter will stimulate the fire in our bodies, will stimulate the
Arugula.
heart. Arugula. Aspirin, really, is the thing that people relate to when they think bitter.
With ginger?
No,
Ginger.
that's
Grapefruit. No, that's
No.
sour.
Kale?
yes, endive, arugula, radicchio. There's a lot of greens that are bitter tasting. No? A lot of the spring greens, dandelion,
Oh, yeah.
bitter. Right? And so those are things that stimulate the heart.
Stimulate the
But it
heart and
doesn't-
help.
And heart, pardon me?
Doesn't the dandelion also help clear one of the...
That, you're thinking the root.
Liver.
You're thinking dandelion root. That's
Okay, the
liver.
leaves, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when we eat these foods, it can help to clear our small intestine and stimulate the heart.
It helps the normal functioning of the fire element, which is the heart and the small intestine.
It's interesting that you never used to see arugula particularly in the stores, and now you go and you can get these prepackaged greens, and they always have arugula all over.
Not only arugula, but all kinds of bitter greens. Parsley is what's used, right, in the Passover,
Yes.
right? That's
Yes.
it's used as the
Yes.
bitter herb. Yeah.
What are the foods that we...
Anything that will take us out of our feelings, okay, and help us move up into their head. You didn't ask me about the throat. So anything that's going to stimulate the mind and move us out of our bodies is going to coffee, sugar, any recreational drugs. Anything that moves us into our heads and out of our bodies is going to be a potential craving when you want to get out of your feelings. So I feel that I'm just going to, with your help of course, I'm going to review the movement through the elements. Okay? So we started with the metal element, which was incarnation. When we come into a body, when we're born. And this is the stage where either we feel that we're totally accepted who we are, as who we are, where we're welcomed into the world and into our bodies and kept safe. We're welcomed into a body that we then can explore the world through. It becomes a temple to connect us with all that is. Or we come into a prison that separates us from the rest of the world. we feel alone and abandoned. The image that we used was of the animal that's thrown into a cage, or the person that's thrown into jail, and the first thing that's done is that you check all of the boundary. You check the bars, right? Can I get out of here? No? And what were the organs related to that?
Lungs.
The lungs.
Yes,
Lungs
the intestine.
and
The big one.
large
intestine.
intestine
yeah.
and the skin,
Mm.
right? All of the organs that are the interface between the outside world and the inside
Our
world.
boundaries.
And then the next step,
And that relates to our root chakra.
you, sorry, right,
Yeah.
the first chakra,
Yeah.
exactly.
0 to 5 years.
Yeah.
0 to 10
Five.
years, actually.
Okay.
But the programming is in the first 5 years, exactly. This is why we don't remember, most of us, the first 5 years of our lives, because we're so busy just taking in every little aspect, every judgment that we're supposed to automatically have afterwards, right? We take it all in that time. In that time, we learn, from observing our parents, we learn what our lives are supposed to be. And then we faithfully replicate our parents' models ad nauseum. So the next step after the metal element is,
Water.
What were the
Water.
fruits for metal?
pardon me,
So I just want to write the fruits for metal.
what we are attracted to stop the feelings of abandonment and aloneness are dairy products and flour products.
Wow.
And what will stimulate life is all raw foods. And in the water element, what are we looking at?
Let me see.
Kidney and the bladder.
Yes.
Actually, the entire genitourinary tract. No? And in this stage, we learn the context of the culture and society of the clan.
This is adolescence too, right?
This is from 10 to 20.
Mm-mm.
Are you sure it was 7?
Said 1900.
Yeah, totally. 100% sure.
1900. Okay. Alright. This is the first pass, I guess, they're warning people. Alright.
So Don, you said that we learn the first of the clan and
We're learning the identity,
okay.
right, of the clan, society, and culture. So we're learning about the roles that we're supposed to be playing. We're learning about who we are as part of the larger organism that's going to help us survive. Because all on our own, we can't survive, right? So this is where we learn all of the rules and regulations that we must adhere to if we're going to be lovable, good members of society and culture and family. This is where we learn the rules of the game. The genitourinary tract is related to feelings of belonging or feelings of fear. The fear comes based on the first learning of metal element, if we've learned in Metal Element that we're not good enough, that we are not lovable, and we will always be alone, the next step is fear. Alone and afraid do not necessarily, they're not necessarily one thing. They're two separate things, right? So this next step is afraid. And it's either afraid or solid in one's identity and aware that you've got this incredible nourishment of your roots that will then feed you so that you can grow out of that to become who you are, right? And that's the next step. In Wood Element is where it's the image is that of the tree growing. And so out of the roots and the stability of the clan and the family and the culture, the individual grows and manifests in his or her life. This is from 20 to 30. And this is when we're in the world being the roles that we've learned, trying to work with the rules, right? This is where we get the first friction between who we learn we are and who we truly are. This is where the Saturn return happens at the end of the 20s, where something happens that seems to fall from the heavens, and we have to really look at our lives. This is where we can look at ourselves and say, okay, I'm just like my mother and father, right? And either we take up that banner with pride and continue to be just like mommy and daddy, or we can start to question. And that questioning is when we're in the heart. And that's the dual nature. That's the split that happens in the heart. Okay? And it doesn't have to be a split. But these are this is what is in play in the fire element. Is, am I going to be safe if I repeat again this programming of my family and my culture and my society? Is that how I'm going to be safe? Or am I going to be safe if I follow my passion and I do all of these other things that I'm not supposed to be doing that are against all of the rules? And then you start thinking, whoa, wait a minute. Is the question really about being safe? Fire. Yeah. About being alive. And in the fire element, well, first of all, I didn't finish quite with the wood element, because the wood element is where either we manifest, we're allowed to manifest who we are, or we begin to manifest and we hit all of the obstacles that we learned about, right? All of the glass ceilings. You can't do it. You can't do this because you're a girl. You're the wrong age. You're the wrong society, wrong culture, wrong class, whatever, right? You're not supposed to do that because if you succeed when your family hasn't, you're going to be betraying your family. Whatever. But it's in this wood element that we hit all of our beliefs about ourselves that limit ourselves. And in the fire element, we're beginning to think about ourselves as individuals. And what is my purpose here?
This is between 30 and 40.
Yeah. What is my purpose? My mission? Apart from having a career and making babies and
Getting married.
getting married, having babies, having babies, getting married, whatever. Being a proper functioning member of society, right? Doing all the things that I'm supposed to do to become responsible, right? Apart from that, why am I here? Is there anything else, or is this why I'm here? This is where these questions start to happen. Between 30 and 40. Remember, Yeshua, the story of Yeshua can be looked at as a template for the development of each individual. And 33 years old was the age of the crucifixion. Now, if we look at the end of the 20s as being the Saturn return, where everything crumbles apart, then between the Saturn return and, say, around 33-ish, we have a chance to reform, to restructure, to question, and to discover what we are really passionate about. What might be what we could call a mission. Why we are here. And this is where the ideals come into play, right? Because we often think that our mission is about creating the ideals. But ideals, and we're coming all around full circle, ideals that are based in our wounding are not really they're the ideals that will heal us, right? But it's important to know that we're healing ourselves. We think we're healing the world, right? We want to go and fight injustice because we believe in justice, right? But it's really important to understand that we're healing ourselves. We want to go out and touch people with love and give massages that will heal people's bodies because we weren't touched well or properly. We weren't touched. We want to bring spirit into the world because what we saw and lived at home was painfully material or carnal and violent. And so we want to escape. We escape that and we want to make the world a spiritual place. And so we are always healing ourselves. Our lives, our breath, everything that we do is about healing ourselves. And that that's how we heal the world.
Are you making a distinction there between the ideals from the wounding and something more deeper that is another passion? No, okay. That passion is always at the root of the healing drive.
Because when you're in a place of oneness, there's the only passion is the passion of being. When you're in a place of oneness, passion is not something that calls you into anything else at all. There's no movement required. There's nothing required.
A state of sloth.
A state of passionate, joyful, grateful being.
Being, yes. I like that. That's really good.
And that state of open-hearted, joyous being transforms the planet. It changes your body on a cellular level. Gradually, as gratitude is allowed to seep into every bit of your body, each of your cells changes. And you assume who you are. That's another t-shirt I wanted to make. Assume divinity. That one and shopping for God.
I like that, shopping for God.
Why not?
And another one was nice kills.
Nice kills.
Nice kills.
Mm. Mm.
Do you understand that one? No? The need to be nice, no, really ends up killing us. No? This is a very Canadian thing, actually.
Repress.
That's right.
Never undress your feelings.
Yes. If you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all.
Right.
That's what I was.
And that has to be left.
That's right. Yeah, we were taught that.
Yes.
Exactly. So, niceness
How about children?
is really equivalent to sheepness, being a sheep. Uh-huh. It's obeying the rules and not causing waves and keeping everything nice.
My father always said when we were talking and somebody asked for quiet, he says, you know, my grandfather said, children were to be seen and not heard. That's what he was taught.
That's right.
And he said, you should consider yourself lucky that I allow you to talk at all. So,
Well,
we went way beyond that.
my father gave my kids a little lecture on how I wasn't how do you put it? He tried to get my kids to tell me that I should hit them.
Huh?
Wow.
Yeah.
wonder
Yeah,
why
yeah,
he didn't just tell you yourself.
Pardon me?
I wonder why he didn't.
Oh, he tried,
Okay.
and it didn't work, right? So it was supposed to come from.
Wow.
What is this? Beat me
You should
lonely.
really make these
Yeah.
t-shirts, Dawn.
You wanna play
should make these
chess?
t-shirts and sell them on your website.
They're good, eh?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. Any questions?
Well, you talked about the raw food being the
Yes.
exact food for the metal. I wonder where the other.
Okay.
what's the-
First of all, I want to say that many people in healing this cycle will go right to the beginning. This is why people will tell us that eating raw foods and learning to breathe properly can heal everything else. Because if we start at step number 1, it heals everything else. Right? Because all of the other energy steps in this cycle are built upon that one. Huh? Yeah. And so, yes, doing yoga, eating raw foods, fasting, all of those things are ways of healing everything else that's built on top of it. Huh? So we can use that for all of the different elements. At the same time, okay. Well, we went through the other ones, right? For the water element, it's salt and meat.
Yes,
We didn't write those yet.
but I didn't. Is it the right?
That was the craving foods,
That's
right?
what the craving.
That's what you
Is
crave.
it? Is it?
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, a little bit of salt is yes. What will usually help
Okay.
balance the water element. Yeah.
Salt and meat. Sorry, that was the water.
Yeah, but
Which one was alcohol? Alcohol was wood,
Wood.
wasn't it? Yeah.
It's wood.
yeah, but what we're talking about is the difference between the craving and the
Yes.
prescription,
Yes, exactly.
right?
The craving is the alcohol. The prescription is
Is lemons
Yes.
That's wood, right?
So,
Yes, that's
it's
wood.
wood.
and olive oil.
Oh, okay.
So for water element, it's water also, salt and water, right?
That are good.
Yeah.
Okay, so the salt was not the craving one.
Well, it is a
Salt
craving
and-
also. Salt and meat are both cravings that help suppress, right? But a small amount of salt and lots of water is what will help clear. Yeah, and so the next one, wood element, the craving that people have is for alcohol, and the clearing is lemon, or it's sour, the sour taste, but lemon, but also olive oil will help. And then for fire element, anything that takes you out of your body, out of your feelings, so sugar, coffee, and recreational drugs. Anything that takes you out of your body will help you not be in the feelings. And the one other thing that I didn't mention was that very often when people have been teaching in the past about the fire element, they'll talk about excessive empathy or apathy, okay, related to fire element, right? So that the aspect of excessive empathy is like the mother who lives vicariously through her children. She doesn't have an existence, and so she lives through her children, right? And the apathy is the creating of the wall around your heart, so that you can say, well, that has nothing to do with me. So those are the two aspects of imbalance in the fire. other thing that I wanted to touch on was in relation to the mother, for example, who lives through her children, who feels all of her emotional energy comes from other people's lives, right? This is also related to control, right? And it's a way
To keep them dependent.
Yeah.
yes, this is the classic, right?
But that's not the earth.
Giving in order to receive.
Wouldn't that be the earth rather than fire when we talk about the mother and the
No, mother is a very complicated term these days. And controlling mother is really what most of us have run into. And controlling mother is the male aspect of the idea of
motherhood?
motherhood, yeah.
So that's that idea you were talking about not being able to receive, but in giving,
Yes.
giving conditionally in
Yes.
order to be able to receive.
And many of us become mothers energetically, male and female, okay? We become mothering so that we can have control. Right? But women in particular, we will move out of being sexual women because that's very dangerous. We move out of that very vulnerable place and into mothering, right? Which is much safer.
That's up on the best.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's in my culture.
that's
A
right.
woman is dangerous until she becomes a mother, then she's revered.
That's right. It's in all of our cultures, believe me. Exactly.
Wow. You just ran me through my life.
Would you like to walk slowly?
I need to do that. My car is up there. It's gonna be, by the way, on the way down while I was walking, I was not so present and all. I just slipped and went down,
Oh, no.
and this knee was not so. So, but when I happily just went, and I thought, the universe is saying you really have to be present.
Dawn, you had said something about water and meat.
Yeah, we crave meat and salt when we're feeling fearful.
So when the water's out of balance, this is what we do.
Yes.
And how do you bring it back to balance? With what food? With
What
water?
we're saying with water